So for those of us who logged in right now, if you're calling in or you're logged in and you guys are maybe hovered around a phone, I'm trying to get a check-in to see who attended. Ray's asking for attendees, who's actually attending. And if you guys can either shoot me an email or just let me know that you attended and what your feedback was, or shoot Ray an email what your feedback is, and give a brutally honest opinion if the data works, if the content works, if I'm too aggressive, if I'm too nice, or it just doesn't make any sense. You know, Ray wants to hear the feedback. So even though he's my boss, I definitely don't mind him knowing exactly how you guys feel about the content. But if you guys are just first joining these meetings, you know, on the calendar invite, I put Sales Remastered. The whole intent of Sales Remastered is it's sales just updated, enhanced, and kind of revised to modern time. And if you think of like video games or music, the enhancement or the remastered version is typically an enhanced copy that just made the original version better. And that's what I hope to do here with sales. In this particular capacity, it's going to be inside sales. And that's something that we do every day. And so the content or the subject matter that we're going to cover today is going to be objections. I think that, you know, just listening to phone calls, as all sales managers have to now, it's helpful because you get to kind of experience what you guys are going through in the trenches. And of course, there are some things that are out of our control, like FICO scores or just getting out of a bankruptcy and foreclosure. These are things that are natural because everyone in the market already moved, right? And so we're coming from, let's say, a 7-month period, or actually a little bit longer, an 8-month period, where the rates jumped up. And so everyone who didn't refinance throughout that last 6-year window where the rates were low are now coming into light. You know, they're the late birds. And as we pull them up, they're just hairier and hairier, you know. All the qualified candidates already did their refinance. And what we're running into are those who didn't, or those who were declined. And there are certain things that we could do in the initial phone call to kind of give us a heads up on whether or not they deserve our time or they warrant the remainder of the conversation. Now, the message from, you know, your management and executive levels is you want to take 8 leads per day, right? 7 to 8 leads. Is that fair? You guys hear this every day, right? Well, it's a good I guess it's a good measurement, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you a method that's going to make that a little easier to handle. Maybe not easier to handle, but more efficient in the way you're going about it. And it's actually not lead intake. Because in my opinion, if you have 8 leads per day, think of it as 8 quarters, right? And you're going into an arcade or you're going into a casino to play quarter slots. You're not necessarily going to worry about your first 4 quarters because you know you got 4 more left. So those first 4 quarters, you're making dumb decisions, right? It's almost fast because you got more to go, right? You guys get where I'm getting at? So when you think that you get your first call, first of the 8, you're not trying aggressively to take it to the next level. And if you are, I appreciate you, but in some cases, a lot of time that I've heard on the phone, we're not, because we feel, oh, we'll just get another one. Oh, phones are busy, I'll just get another one. And sometimes it's actually the very first or first few that you get that could be lively deals, but with the security of knowing that you're going to get more leads, it's actually human nature and easier to kind of spend it up, right? Just like, okay, it's cool, I didn't get this one, I'll get the next one. So typically with those leads, until we get into about the 7th or 8th or closer to the day and we have no sale, that's actually when we start trying. And we start like really digging deep, and it messes us up on an emotional level because we're thinking about the entire day. We had fires to put out, we had drama with operations, we got drama with management, we got drama with our some of the shitty clients that we're dealing with, and then on top of that, we didn't make a sale. It's because we took our 7, we took our 8, we figured the day is done. Well, If we changed our view and said, well, you know what, regardless of however many leads I take, my goal is to get 4 OB priced out, right? So the cycle goes intake, application, credit pull, and then OB, right? And those 4 actions should be taken before any quotes are given. Before OB's brought up, you have to do the credit report. Before you do the credit report, you have to do the app. Before you do the app, you got to take the leads, right? And so in my opinion, I believe working up a proposal or OB means that you have some sort of engagement. You have some sort of interest from the prospect. And that's where it should start. It should not start with how many leads you take. It should always be measured by how many deals you priced up in OB. Now I see some agents on the floor that will price it up. I can tell because there's no loan number or there's not even a last name. You know, it's just a quick OB with a template saying, "Hey, is this possible?" And I'm gonna speak on that because I want you guys to view it from someone with tenure and knowing kind of just the macro level of the NAF style, the NAF engine. And if we go about it in a way where we're pricing before we even did an app or a credit report, you're setting yourself up for friction, for resistance. Because how many times has a prospect told you their credit is good and it comes back at 600? How many times has a prospect told you that their credit is over 700 and it comes back 640? Or their credit is good, but the spouse's FICO is effed up, right? And so then it comes back at 580, but now they're upset. So there's certain things that we could do in the application to make sure that we're not spinning our wheels and we have something that we can ultimately get to OB, because that's the objective, is how can I get you to OB? How can I get you price? How can I get you to the table so I can pitch you? And I believe that one slight adjustment, you'll find that you'll get least resistance, right? You're not begging one of your candidates to understand and believe you when you say the sky is blue. You're not convincing someone that $300 is a great benefit regardless if your rate is the same or your rate is higher, right? You're actually paying attention to those who deserve it, and those who deserve it are those giving you chances at bat. And those who give you chances at bat means that they gave you their social, they gave you their info, and you priced it up. So again, that sequence is intake, application, credit pull, and OB. That should be the very first phone call, in my opinion. If you guys disagree, hear me out on this, and maybe I could sway you in a different direction. But when you first intake the call, and John Briggs, he volunteered to be our prospect today. And in no way is this rigged. I didn't go through any script with John. John asked me, if he wants to come in real quick or a little bit earlier and maybe role play so that it sounds nice over the phone. And in my opinion, I want to freestyle it. I still close loans, but I do majority of my own rewrites and captures and redos. And so some of us might be like, oh, well, Daniel, that's not the same. Well, technically it is, because anyone doing an inquiry is going to have a trigger, right? And so it may not be delivered by way of internet inquiry. It may not be delivered by way of CSR, but at the end of the day, they still did an inquiry, right? So just like a lot of the prospects, they're doing an inquiry online. So we meet the same objections. To a degree, it's somewhat easier because they've done business with NAP before. So there's that leverage. But at the same time, there's different objections like, oh, I'm already in the process, I'm already taken care of, I'm signing next week. So you still have the same resistance. Now, the objections that I'm going to go over with you or that John is going to give, I asked him to give me some hard objections. Give me some objections that are going to stump me, that are going to stop me, try to stop me. And I invite that because I like the challenge. I like the freestyle. And if you can take away any of the methods or the styles on how to respond to any of these objections, I think if you incorporate it in your day, you'll find out whether or not this person deserves the rest of your time. We are not here by hourly. I think everyone will agree for that. The whole reason why we go through this grind. And when I say grind, if you really think about it, this is a grind, right? Like you're in and out. It's an emotional roller coaster. There's ups and downs, ups and downs. One minute, you're feeling great, confident, on top of the world. Next minute, you're just feeling like you're fucking beat up, right? This is just the truth of sales. And that's why certain things about like mindset and point of views are important, because that's what rigs you up to be successful for that day. And so when John Briggs logs in and he gets on the phone call, he'll make an announcement, and then we'll do that role play. But going back to certain objections, and I apologize, dude. What was your name again? Mark. Okay. Art. Right. Bart. Yeah. There you go. Okay, cool. So Bart was actually the first attendee here in Isla, Tustin, and he mentioned to me, there are certain things that create walls, and certain things that there's just no way to fix. And what he did mention was, there's candidates out there that he talks to that are below 600 or 620 FICO score, and to some degree, I mean, we could do an FHA to 580. Right, with the manual underwrite or what have you. We could do VAs on a manual underwrite. So there's still options for these crowds, but let's say they're not VA, or let's say that their FICO is 580, but they don't want FHA because they got equity. There are a lot of times where we create our own walls, right? And I see it happen all the time, where I'll go back and forth on a pricing and putting together different options for, let's say, an agent. And then I'll jump in and I'll be like, okay, dude, what's the goal, right? What's the goal? Because the adjustments on our OB shows that because they're at a 700 FICO or 680 FICO, they have a 1-point hit. Because they're doing cash out to 80%, they have a 1.75 hit, right? And so this eats away, and this thus takes away our expectation of delivering the lowest rate, because the prospect asks for the lowest rate. They ask for no cost. They ask for a lot of things. They're like kids at Christmas, right? They just got this huge list. I want a pony. I want a life-size G.I. Joe doll. And how we react to the children is like, okay, well, what you want? I got it. Let's go. Let's see what you get. And when we enter into the sales cycle, we have to be sure that we're not the one justifying the benefit. For example, $100 to me is different to someone who is just a W-2 employee, right? Or $100 to me is of different value than someone in rural Idaho who only makes $1,200 a month. Does that make sense? So if I looked at it and said, oh man, this guy's never gonna buy a $60 or $50 savings, I'm giving up. And so when I go into the sale, or when I go into the remainder of the phone call, I have that thought nagging at me and fucking up my momentum. And you need the momentum. You need to still sound like you can help them. I one of these videos that I put up, I use the reference of, if anyone's ever had any guests over, right? Like let's say you're doing a barbecue at your house, or you're having like a gathering at your house. There's a certain way that you greet the person. When you answer the door, like, hey, what's up? Yeah, come on in, right? Versus answering the door and trying to sell them on why to come in. Hey, you're gonna have a great time. Once you come on in, I got a great, awesome living room. If you want to come in, I got drinks. I got, yeah, you're fucking weirdo, right? Like they came to your doorstep. Same ideology here. They came to our phone, and so. And in the same breath, if that person in your party, let's say you're having a gathering and they ask you and say, hey, Daniel, can I use your bathroom? Where's your bathroom? There's a certain way you're going to help them versus, like point them in the right direction. Oh, yeah, come on, let me show you, right? Oh, yeah, I got you. Follow me. There's a certain tonality. There's a certain energy, because there's no doubt that you know where the bathroom is in your house, right? You just know where certain destinations are. And so if we took that same example and let's say a caller on the phone and said, hey, Daniel, do you have a 2.5 30-year fix? Certainly. Yeah, come on, let me show you. If we use that same tonality, same response, same energy, if you will, you'll meet less friction. Because there's no doubt because I don't hear 2.5. I think of different outlets. I think of 3.5 buy down on a 15-year fix. I could do it. Let's see if you qualify. Am I right? I also think that that this guy's asking for 2.5 because he's not educated where the market is. I'm going to educate this guy. I also know that when he asks for 2.5, that's his defense mechanism. And so just like the example of the party, when you go, if you bought a car ever and you go onto a lot, you got those hungry salesmen coming up to you, right? You just see them from afar. They're like, ooh, they start walking fast, and like maybe there's 2 of them, and they give like heads up, like, I got this guy. And you're like, fuck, here comes this salesman, right? And immediately you want to say no. And it's because the question is, like, hey man, can I help you? No, I'm okay, I'm just looking, right? It's a common response, fucking car lot to Target, right? Like, hey, are you okay? Can I help you find anything? No, I'm good, even though you genuinely need help. It's because it's our defense mechanism. It's our natural reaction to protect ourselves for our time, our money, and ultimately there's just this stigma of salesmen. And so that's why I have content stating that consulting is the new selling. If you consult more than you sell, it's no longer a sale. It's actually a collaboration. You're actually figuring out a solution with your prospect. But you cannot do this too early in the phone call. In my opinion, I don't think you could do it in the first phone call. Not until the second call, not until the pitch will you know what your boundaries are, right? And I'll go into that a little bit more. So going back into the tone, if you get someone who calls up and they're asking for a radio ad, right? And say, yeah, you know what, I heard you guys on the radio, you guys were giving out like a 3.25 30-year fixed, no fee. And where one agent will say, fuck, I just saw a rate sheet, rates are like 4.5 right now, 4.25, that's probably not available. That agent is gonna choose to go over those details right away. Are you looking for a 30-year fix? Are you open to an arm? Now you're starting to create your own wall, right? You're actually starting to create reasons as to why that call's not going to move forward. But that's by choice. It's by choice of how much information you want to go up with up front. And I think that the point of this meeting here is to not only give that person the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, well, I'm just going to show this guy how to do savings because that's why he wants a lower rate. The reason why he wants a fee is because this is what media has trained society to want, right? Whether it's a TV commercial or an internet ad, everything is free, right? And so this is the message now. And it's okay. I mean, it's marketing dollars, it's media. There's more competition going after the same exact prospect, which is another reason why I think cold calling is important, or calling back and following up on leads that you talked to in the last 8 months, just because the market is better today and those people are more acquainted with you. But that's a separate subject. So going back to the origination process, again, the whole goal is to get 4 pitches per day, or 4 priced out with your SM per day. And if anyone here on the phone is trying to go, be the noble agent and say, hey, you know what, I only want to sell rate sheet, or hey, you know what, I'm only going to give this guy a 0.25% discount because I'm a closer and I'm hardcore. I think that's a noble cause. NAF appreciates you, but at the end of the day, you need to build up that momentum. So if you need to go rock bottom just so you could put a number on the board, you can get that confidence shot that you need, that boost shot, then do it, because you need to have that confidence going into the remainder of the day if you can. So John Briggs, are you on the line?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good morning, everybody.
What's up? Okay, cool, man. I'm gonna speak for like another few minutes. I'm gonna go over a few other topics, and then we'll do the role play. Okay?
Oh, sounds great. Let's do it.
Now on the role play, guys, I'm gonna do a first call and then the second call, so a pitch. So you're gonna be able to see kind of the dialogue, and John has promised to hit me with any objections that he can. I'm excited to see if I can make a sale, if I can at least sway him to doing that. Okay? And so when you take in your first call, or when you go throughout the day, I want to cover another thing. Time management is very important. I've seen different methods used from agents, from using a Word document, and then they'll bullet point every single client that they got to touch base with, and then what they'll do is they'll just cross it off when they're done, right? But there's actually no time. There's no there's no committed time like, hey, this guy's going to be available with his wife or her husband at 3 o'clock Pacific time. And why that's important is because everyone is busy. If you look around, everyone's in a rush. In a rush for what? Who knows, right? In a rush to go home and watch TV. In a rush to get to work. Everyone's in a rush. So there's one thing that people love to protect, and besides money, it's their time. And if we are not giving our prospects the advantage of having them in a location where they can give you their undivided attention, I believe you're actually, again, building your own wall. So if you're trying to app this guy and you're trying to do a pitch with this guy and he's on a fucking construction zone, he's at work, he's moving around, he's buying shit at the grocery store, you can hear the background, right? Maybe that's not the time to talk to this guy. This is his life. This is his house. This is the biggest debt and biggest expense that he has per month. Why am I going to try to force feed him information if he's not in a position where he can make a sound decision, right? So think back of the last few conversations you had. Was it set up according to their time? And when I mean by according to their time, I mean when they're at home, when they're with their spouse, when they're not distracted by outside things, right? Even if you have to pitch them on the road home, is better than pitching them while they're doing their errands or while they're at work. And the reason why I say this is because you have to catch them when their emotions are right as well. It's not just about our emotions. It's not just about our day, right? Besides us trying to get our number on the board, we have to be also coherent to what that prospect is going through and show that personable, that kind of that relation, like, hey man, I got you, don't worry about it. Because that's who they buy from, is the people who mold to them, who make it easier for them. Just like how we build walls, like another example is I got new agents coming on from the sales floor, and right out of ILA training, I think we're all guilty of it. We learn a lot of new things that we're excited to use, right? And we feel like it's mandatory to talk about these programs that we just learned about. Like, oh yeah, I got this 1.0 buy down, and it's fixed for the first year, and it's at this 1% lower rate, and you're going over all these details. You're mentioning LP, DU, DTI, LTV, all these abbreviations that are a foreign language to these prospects. And I believe that builds a wall, because you're speaking a language that your prospects simply don't understand. And just like if you're at a table, right? Let's say it's just us at a table, and all you guys are speaking a foreign language, let's say Spanish, because I don't understand Spanish, and you guys were talking in Spanish back to each other, and you guys started laughing, I personally would feel uncomfortable, right? Think about it. And so if you're interacting with your prospect and you're talking a different language, you're going to make them feel uncomfortable. You're going to make them feel like they need to stop and ask questions or talk about it with their spouse. And again, I think that's a wall, where the actual best way to close and make a sale is just make it easier for them to buy, right? And that also goes with the dialogue on taking intake calls, is that you just make it easier for them to do the process. Where I think a lot of the calls fails because we're making it harder for them. So if they call in and say, hey, you want a free loan at 3.5, how we make it harder is we say, oh, you know what, that's just not available, but let me see what I could do for you. Now you lost their attention. You made it hard for them. It's like, oh, I called for one thing, I'm not going to get it, never mind, right? You could give it a good college try, but they're not going to be listening to you. All they heard was you couldn't do it, or all they heard was some verbiage or lingo that they simply do not understand. And so you almost have to think about, like, if you have a spouse who's not in the industry, or a family member who's not in the industry, let's just say, your auntie or your grandma, right? Like, everyone here, I imagine, understands what a grandma is. It's the person that you protect, right? Just think about it. It's a person you don't want anyone to take advantage of. Well, how would you explain your services to her? Right? You explain it in a way where you know that she's going to be taken care of, and she's not going to be treated dirty by your competition. You're going to explain it in a way that she understands, even though she doesn't work in the industry. You're just going to kind of narrow it down. Well, if you took that same approach to your prospects and you say, hey, no worries, I got you, and they genuinely feel it, it's going to come through in your tonality. It's going to come through in your tone. It's going to come through in the conversation. They're just going to feel it, and they're going to be attracted to you. And I believe that's how you make a sale. So I'm going to give the example right now. John?
Hey, I'm right here.
All right, buddy. So, I was sharing with everybody, this is not scripted, this is not practice, am I right? You came up to me yesterday, you say, hey man, is there any objections you want to go over, any scenarios you want to go over? And my response to him was, just hit me with everything that you think is common, so everyone can relate. We're thinking about doing like an investment property because they're a little bit more complicated, but investment properties are just not as common as we think. What's more common are the people who have 3.75 fixed right now. What's more common are people who have 3.25 FHA fixed right now. Would you agree? These are what we're running into. People who have lower FICO scores. And so the certain questions that I ask in this example, try and notate it down, okay? And I'm gonna have a Word document in front of me where I'm gonna be collecting certain notes. And I need you guys to understand that whenever you do intake calls, there should be two screens open. Two windows open. Hopefully everyone here has two screens, because it's helpful to have BV in one and the property profile in another. And a few things that property profile covers is, what can you guys learn from a property profile?
Years build, square footage, neighborhoods, value.
Last time it was recorded, sometimes the previous lender, sometimes the type loan.
Good. You can learn tax rate. Someone just bought the house, a year ago, 2 years ago, the year they bought it, the price they got it for, last time they refinanced, if they ever refinanced. There's a lot of information on the property profile, right? Now, prospects don't know that we have it in front of us.
Title too, and we'll see if it's a PUD or condominium.
Yeah, it'll tell you what kind of property build it is. It'll tell you some comps. And these are tools that we're privy to, but a lot of consumers are not. Kind of like that comp report that's in BV, right? Like you can look at it like, hey, I'm gonna send you some comps and just email it out. Or you could relay it as, hey, I got this neat report. It's really exclusive to New American Funding. It actually shows you what influences your property value from the school system to your neighborhood. Hey, I'm gonna send it over to you. I'm not supposed to send this out, but I want you to look at it. Give me your feedback. All right? It's the same message. It's just relayed in a different way. Now you're building excitement, right? Now you're building benefit, and I think that is the method that I'm trying to share here in this meeting. Is that right now we're going too much at a sale. We're looking at our prospect as a sale, as a number, as a tier, right? We're not looking at it as someone we can help. And I believe that if we make that slight adjustment and say, hey, instead of selling you, I'm going to bring you some value first, and then I'm going to close you, right? Like my approach with these triggers and demands or redos, when I get word that they get a trigger or they get a credit pull, I don't call them and say, hey man, I just found out you got a credit report pulled. Are you looking to refinance? Can I help you? I don't go in that route, because now I just made myself a competitor. How I do it is like, hey, just doing a quick check-in. If you remember, I did your loan, or if you remember, we did your loan. And I just want to give you a quick heads up. This year, we rolled out this complimentary sales report that's very interesting. It actually shows you, it's kind of like doing an appraisal without paying for an appraisal. It's going to show you what influences your value. And this is just a courtesy report we give to our past clients. I know you may not be with us right now, but it's very helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and email that over to you, okay? Perfect. Got it. And I'm done. I don't do any sale. I don't hit them up on rate or price or even inquire or show them on the inquiry, because the strategy is that I need to bring you benefit first, and if you take that benefit, now I got the dialogue open. Now I'm going to work my way in, right? And so, oh yeah, hey Daniel, yeah, I remember you. Yeah, go ahead and send it over, because they're not going to tell me that they had a credit inquiry. Yeah, go ahead and send it over. Perfect. I'll go and send it over right now. Now, I got your file in front of me, and I'm not sure if you knew this, but as long as your payments are on time and you're not in default right now, you're already eligible for a courtesy refinance. New American Funding offers you a no lender fee loan where we can, but the only thing is though, we have to be able to provide value. I can only give you that entitlement if it helps you improve your current term right now. So I got to deliver some benefit. If I can, did you want me to email that to you? Yeah, absolutely, sure. How can you say no to that, right? It's free, it's courtesy. All I did was made it really easy for them to get it. I didn't drill them down and say, okay, well, when's the last time you pulled your credit? Although that will apply with someone who's different from a triggered demand. And so that's why it's important to understand the source code, how they learned a NAF and what brought them to you today. And it's different from asking them, what's your goal? You know, that's a question I hear all the time. And to be honest, it's like scratching a chalkboard. But we believe it's the right thing, right? That's an honest question. Like, what's your goal? But if we stop and we think about it, everyone's goal is the same. They want free service, they want it fast, and they want the lowest rate. So me asking them what their goal is, now I'm putting them in that mind frame, right? Now I'm putting them with expectation to get the lowest rate, the no-cost loan, and what they saw on a TV commercial back in 2015. Like, oh yeah, remember Greenlight? I don't even think it's called Greenlight anymore. That green booger jumping up on the TV commercial. You guys know what I'm talking about? All right. So where I'm getting at is if we switch up our approach, I think that it will have less friction in getting the job done. And the first job is to work up a proposal, get them to a proposal stage. So that's what I hope to do with John. If he lets me get by, he's gonna hit me with some hard objections. You there, John?
I'm here. Let's do this. So let's start off here. Let's pretend that I'm calling in.